And we are happy that finally it's going to, we are going to get to see these funds disbursed to our counties and see the difference that it will make for Kenyans, Madam Speaker, in the marginalized areas. Madam Speaker, I do support the distribution of the equalization fund to the areas that have been identified, Madam Speaker, particularly areas in Kajiado County, in Kajiado Central. Dalalekutu ward is going to benefit, Madam Speaker. Matapato North is going to benefit, Matapato South and Purko, a total of 151 million for Kajiado Central. And Madam Speaker, in Kajiado South and Tonet Lenkisim ward is going to receive, Birikani Selengei ward is going to receive, Madam Speaker, Kuku and Rombo, Madam Speaker, a total of 66 million, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, for Kajiado West, which is going to receive the lion's share, Ewasongidongi ward, which is very marginalized, is going to receive, Madam Speaker, Kekonyokie Magadi, which is also very marginalized, Mosiro, which is also extremely marginalized, Madam Speaker, and Lodokilani ward is going to receive around 53 million, making a total of 218 for Kajiado West, Madam Speaker. I do support. But, Madam Speaker, whereas I support the areas in the entire country that are going to receive and that it's going to benefit those marginalized areas, I have a problem with the formula, Madam Speaker. The CRA formula, Madam Speaker, did not take into consideration other aspects of marginalization. Even in our urban centers, Madam Speaker, a place like Kitengela, which is just close by in Nairobi, should be looking like part and parcel of Nairobi. We have a place called Changombe that children have no space for school, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that town has no sewer system. Kitengela town has water issues, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are areas in our urban centers, like in Kajiado North, in Rongai, Kiserian, Ngong, we have a place called Geshagi. We have Gataka, areas that are marginalized and that are in need of services, Madam Speaker, but were not considered because they were looked at as areas that are in towns and were not considered, Madam Speaker, for this fund. It does not mean those who are in towns, Madam Speaker, are comfortable. There are places, areas in towns that are very, very needy, Madam Speaker. And in fact, if you find those who are needy in our urban centers, Madam Speaker, then you will know what poverty really means, Madam Speaker. And so that is why I feel the CRA formula did not go deep into consideration of aspects of poverty that are bedeviling Kenyans, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the rural parts, like where I come from, in Kajiado East, Madam Speaker, Kajiado East has not been allocated a shilling in terms of the equalization fund, just because we've been viewed to be almost part of Nairobi, because we have Nairobians who are living around Kitengela, Madam Speaker, who have beautiful homes, who have moved out of the middle class in Nairobi, has moved into our area and built beautiful homes. But that does not mean the Maasai are not living in Manyattas. They're living in Manyattas with no water, no roads, no electricity, Madam Speaker. And so there is poverty in the midst of some plenty from some areas, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, CRA should go deep into to address and get a formula that will address the real issues of poverty in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today, if I invite my colleagues to where I live, which is not very far, Madam Speaker, Konza City is a place, around Konza City, it's a place 1.5 hours and you'll be there. But I live in Nairobi because I cannot stay at home like the people in Kiambu who go home, go Thika and come back. Madam Speaker, My place will be 40 minutes drive, but it is not. It takes 2 hours. If the road is bad, there'll be wear and tear. And should the El Nino come, Madam Speaker, I will not be able to reach my home because we don't have tarmac. Yet we are so close by Nairobi. Somebody somewhere in this country, Madam Speaker, must explain why the inequalities in this country. Somebody somewhere, some government somewhere must be responsible, Madam Speaker. The Jomo Kenyatta government did not address the inequalities of this country. The Moi government did not address the inequalities of this country. Neither did the Uhuru government, Madam Speaker, address the inequalities of this country. I am hoping, I am praying that my president today will address the inequalities. That should we receive 38 kilometers of tarmac between Isinya and Konza, Madam Speaker, a lot of us will be operating from our homes and feel, you know, the pleasure of operating from home and coming to work in Nairobi. The way the people in Thika do, Madam Speaker. We want to feel what these other privileged Kenyans do feel, Madam Speaker. We want to come from our homes, work and go back to our farms, Madam Speaker. It is possible. But we've been marginalized while being the bedroom of Nairobi. We've been marginalized while so near to development. We see the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Madam Speaker. We just get to see. We see the SGR crossing our area, Madam Speaker.
Your time is up, Senator.
Madam Speaker, we see even the track of power lines.
Okay. Senator Osotsi.